So I'm playing World of Warcraft again after a few months break. I main the tank role but also have experience of all three roles, so that's tank, DPS and healer on this game. I main Protection Paladin and I plan on playing through Season 2 of The War Within with a mate of mine and anyone else who joins us. If you didn't know, World of Warcraft follows a seasonal structure where Blizzard release a new dungeon pool and raid each season, and it's currently the start of Season 2 of the latest expansion, The War Within. I played the first season and thoroughly enjoyed it despite the huge tank busters that were present. It was a lot of fun and I reached top 0.5% with a mate and stayed there up until about Christmas time when we took a break away from the game and decided to call it. Mostly due to not having a full pre-made at that point, it becomes extremely inefficient to play the game without a full pre-made at the very highest level.
Now, I just want to add in, this video will include as well tips and guidance around, how you can play the game just around M+ as the end game content, whilst mixing in other systems that you want to take advantage of without raiding. Also, for those who are like me, who like to play a variety of games, who might have limited time to play due to family, due to full-time job, things like that. This video is for those who can put a ton of time in, but it's also applicable to those who, once you've set up your character and you've got onto that kind of treadmill for gearing and various things like that, you only really have to play 1 or 2 nights a week, or as much as you as much as you want or can, and you'll keep progressing by following the different tips that I go through today and how I progress my characters through M+.
What is Mythic Plus in World of Warcraft? Well, Mythic Plus dungeons in World of Warcraft are a challenging endgame mode where players compete in a 5-person PvE dungeon environment against a timer. The difficulty of the dungeons increases without limit upon each successful run. So let's say you had a +8 key, let's say you've worked it up to +8. If you complete the dungeon within the time limit, it will then upgrade to +9. Now, if you absolutely excel in that dungeon, you've got a ton of overall damage in the group, and you manage to time it exceptionally quick, you can actually +2 chest it, which means it will go up 2 key levels. Now, every time it goes up a key level, the mobs and the bosses will deal more damage to you, and they'll also have more health. To the M+ system, where there are modifiers, or also known as affixers, that can vary and change up the gameplay. Such as a lot of orbs spawn and you have to CC or interrupt those orbs with either AoE stun, CC or single target interrupts. And once you clear all of those orbs, it'll give you increased haste, which will equate to you and your teammates dealing more damage to the enemy. There is, of course, just an absolute ton of intricacies that go into M+. Roughly, dungeons are lasting about 30 minutes. They can last longer at like 40, but for the most part, that's the sort of time frame you're looking at. And it's just something really fun about getting your mates together, getting a band of brothers, or just, a band of anyone, getting an M+ squad together and just blasting. And you get a huge satisfaction when you learn or optimize the route in a different way so you can speed it up. Where your damage increases by checking those add-ons that show you how much damage you're doing overall, maybe less deaths across the run, maybe doing some crazy pulls as a tank and pulling that off and supporting your team, and then just being able to go to that next key level, knowing if you're like rushing through that dungeon and you've got like 4 minutes left, you know that you're probably going to be able to do the key level above that. So it's just a really nice gameplay loop. But yeah, it can be very frustrating, which is why it is a much better experience when you have a pre-made of at least 3 of you, preferably 5-stack, but it's very rare even when I get that. But recently I have managed to get that halfway through the season now. I am recording this video a month after the first half of this video. But yeah, do tend to have at least 3 of us at the moment, and it's going okay, so fingers crossed it continues. And that makes me want to touch on gameplay, right? World of Warcraft has got a lot more alt-friendly now. If you don't know what that means, it means that you can create another character, you can have multiple characters on one account on World of Warcraft, and there are an absolute ton of classes, huge variety to how you play. Typically, that's split between the 3 different roles, so like tank, DPS or healer, and then even within that you've got melee based classes and you've got ranged based classes. and that again completely changes your perspective on the game. So as a dungeon player, picking up an alt, especially if you have some mates to roll with, can just be really fun. You know, if you want to have a bit of a break from pushing and add a bit of variety, that's what I've done halfway through the season. I've picked up my Boomy, so I'm main protection paladin at the moment. That's the one that I'm pushing on. But now I have a Boomy. It's a flavor of the month class. Thought I'd check it out. I've played it in the past, and I'm having a blast on it, and it's pretty chill. So whenever I want to relax and still enjoy the gameplay and then have a laugh with mates, I can jump on the Boomy and enjoy the game in a different way through dungeons. And it's really cool, like going in that dungeon, it's just the amount of replayability the game has through dungeon content is just absolutely amazing. Pick up an alt, pick up a different view, different perspective, POV. All of a sudden the dungeon feels different. You're having to optimize in different ways and have fun in different ways. So that's really cool. But when I compare World of Warcraft to every other MMORPG I've played, and I've pretty much played all the major ones in the world, for me, nothing beats the combat gameplay of World of Warcraft. And that, combined with any mates who wants to play, always pulls me back into the game. So talking about the viewer base, I was looking at some analytics of my channel, and about 30% of my viewer base actually watches World of Warcraft YouTube content. And so I thought, why not explain my approach that I take to World of Warcraft and how I play the game. I'm an avid MMORPG player, and my top two MMORPGs of all time are Retail WoW and RuneScape. I play both variants of the RuneScape game as well, Old School and RuneScape 3, and you could say a third variant, but it really isn't an MMORPG. It's an open world survival action RPG game, and that's Dragon Wilds, which I've been really thoroughly enjoying recently, but that's a totally different genre. But my background on World of Warcraft, I started playing WoW back in BFA, so I'm a bit of a newbie overall, although that is 7 years ago, but the game's like 20 years old now. And I started playing when a couple of mates introduced me to it. Time absolutely flies. I instantly fell in love with the Paladin class fantasy, and always had a max level Paladin that followed me right through the different seasons. I've played a variety of classes, but let's stick with Paladin for the purpose of the video. I gravitate to Paladin due to the group utility it brings. We don't tend to have a full stack pre-made, so for now it works really well, especially when you're going with pugs. It's unpredictable, you don't know what's going to happen. You have to carry a little bit with different off healing or utility. I'm pretty certain it's like currently the second strongest tank of the season, although all the tanks are pretty close. But Vengeance Demon Hunter is being perceived as the best tank, but that's mostly due to the buffs that it provides other top flavor of the month DPS classes at the moment. But if you've got a pre-made or overall, really shouldn't worry too much about meta. It's really annoying how much the community emphasizes on meta, when in reality most of them are doing key levels lower obviously than the top players. Meta, yeah, it might make it a bit easier to get up there, but it really isn't needed. You know, there's not many players who are going to be doing the highest keys in the world, and so you're naturally going to be able to play with most other classes 2 to 3 key levels below that. So yeah, it's annoying how much emphasis the community puts on meta, but a large part of that is due to all of the resources that we now have as players, the internet, Wowhead, Twitch streaming, YouTube videos. It puts a lot of emphasis on what is good rather than what is fun and what can work with you and your mates in your comp, or just in general in the pug world. So yeah, I feel really bad. It's really difficult. If I didn't have mates, I wouldn't be playing the game, because it's just super difficult to be invited or even generate groups, even if it's your own key. It just feels really annoying due to that emphasis. So that's a shame. That's the downside right now to that, how meta is, you could say, when choosing things. But I think that's just a generic thing across most games in the world today. But overall, the main factors that determine my class choice tend to be, first and foremost, what I find the most fun to play at that point in time. Secondly, then, how powerful it is in respective to other classes in that role. And thirdly, what works well for the pre-made team if I have one at that point in time. So if you are listening to this and you're, thinking of getting into World of Warcraft, what are some of the main systems that you would need to engage with as an M+ only player? It's fairly straightforward. Obviously, when you first start your character, it's the same for anyone. Delves are a new content that came out, I think, within the War Within expansion, and they're a really nice solo or group way of getting initial power on your character. And once you go through that gearing curve there initially, these are the three main systems that are gonna gear you up as an M+ only player to keep increasing your power and your item level. It's gonna be crafting, the Catalyst system and Vault rewards. And then a more niche one is any other kind of small to medium content patches that Blizzard make, where they might release a certain area or new zone or new content that, as a reward for completing that area, you may get an item that is better than any other item in that slot, at that point in time in the season. But for the most part, the consistent systems right now in the game: crafting, Catalyst system, and Vault rewards. So what are these systems, and how is it helpful for you to engage in these as an M+ only player? So effectively, once you have heroic track gear or higher, so there's different tracks of gear. Once you have heroic track, which is the second highest track in the game, it's worth to transform one of those items that you get into a tier slot item. And it's only worth doing that once you know you're definitely going to get 2 set from it. So 2 pieces gives you an initial power boost. Currently the set effects tend to be passive, but some of them will influence your rotation. 4 pieces gives you the full set bonus, and that's the 4 set. So there are tier sets in this game, and they do add a different dynamic to gameplay. Sometimes it's passive, and it's extremely passive, so it doesn't really impact your rotation. Other times, like the Paladin, for example, when that procs, you're just going absolutely crazy with the Shield of Righteous, just spamming, bashing everyone in the face with your shield. You're getting Holy Power refunded and just constantly spamming that Shield of Righteous. So effectively, you're using the Catalyst system, which comes out a little bit, I think it's like a couple of weeks after the start of a season, you can start using that or so. And you're using that to effectively fill in your gaps to get tier set, whereas Raiders, they'll have a chance of getting that tier. They get a chance of getting tier tokens dropped from Raid. You don't have that, so you are going to be utilizing that Catalyst system. So in theory, Raiders could get ahead early on, and that's the general pattern, is that Raiders will get more power quicker early on. But as an M+ player, if you play the long game, eventually, you're going to be keeping up. It's just about playing the long game, really, as an M+ only player, with how the systems are currently in the game. Whether they change that in the future, I'd love to see like Mythic Plus only tier sets. I've spoke to a lot of people I do M+ with, and everybody would love to see that. And raid only tier sets or something like that, so it kind of benefits you for doing that content, and then it isn't like a negative thing for raiders, like raiders aren't losing out because it isn't going to give them any bonuses in raids. I tend to check on Wowhead, or which is a community World of Warcraft site, or any of the useful community-driven sites such as Murloc.io, to see what all the best players of your class are rocking gear-wise. I usually use that as like a guidance or a reference point, but mostly for the offset item. And I also check it for like what best stats people are rocking, how much do they have in that stat, are there certain thresholds I should be looking out for. But that's like proper mid-maxing, that's if you're really going top tier. Overall, most classes will have their top 2, top 3 stats that you're always going to want to focus on, usually one of those more so than the rest of them. And you just kind of follow that general guide, you'll find the information. So crafting in this game is time gated. So by that, what I mean is there's like a weekly quest that comes out that gives you half a spark, it's called. I think currently they're called Spark of Fortunes. After 2 weeks, you'll have a full spark. So every 2 weeks, you'll have a full spark. That is then used with crests that you can farm from dungeons. You combine the two together. You send off a crafting order. There's everyone, you just basically put in the trade chat, hey, I'm looking for a weapon crafter, max level, gilded level, etc. Max item level, craft please. And a lot of people are doing that for free, and they'll just ask for they'll welcome a tip. And you get them to craft whatever item that you're requesting. So you can craft an item usually once every 2 weeks, and that's how you're going to keep filling in your slots. Usually especially as an M+, the first craft will likely be a weapon, because that's going to be where you're going to get most of your power from. And I'd wait until after you loot your first weekly vault to check if you get a weapon through your vault, if it's myth track or not. But yeah, the crafting, max level crafts go really high up in item level, and are only about 3 item levels below myth track, max level myth track, I believe. So it's pretty good. Overall, Blizzard have made crafting more accessible in Season 2 than in Season 1. It's a lot easier. You need less total crests to be able to craft items. So if you do your research, you're researching into sparks, you're researching into crests, and then what items are going to be good to craft for your class. And again, you can have a look at those different sites. Murloc.io is really cool right now. I'm really enjoying that site. It tells me a lot about the classes and what people are rocking. I'm not going to go into loads of detail, but obviously crafts as well, as where you'll be able to add 2 embellishments as well. So just be careful and make sure that you're looking at which item is best to craft for you, because you are going to have an embellishment on there and you can only have 2 embellishments max. That is currently just this season though. In terms of future-proofing this video, in general, crafting probably isn't going anywhere. Crafting is a good way of gearing. Catalyst is another good way of gearing if there are tier sets in the game at that point in time. And of course, the ultimate way of gearing as an M+ only player is through the vault. So the vault system, the vault is basically just a system where it'll reward you for doing pretty much any content that you love in the game, split between PvP, split between raiding content, Mythic Plus dungeon content, and now the new delving content, but the delving gear doesn't go up that high. So ultimately, as an M+ only player, you're going to be focused on the highest key level that you can do. Effectively, you just want to be doing over +10, because +10 will give you the maximum track gear, which is Myth Track. So you want to try and aim to get to +10 as quick as possible, and then you'll start getting your Myth Track loot from the vault. And if you want to absolutely maximize, you want to be doing at least 8 dungeons, I believe it is, per week, to be able to have 3 options. You'll be able to choose 1, but the more options the better, because you can get very unlucky in the vault. They have came out with an update though to reduce duplication of the offerings of the slots offered in the vault each week, so you can't get like 3 rings just in the vault and have to pick 1 ring. It did work nicely, obviously, if you got 3 trinket options or 3 weapon options, but now they're removing that duplication in the slot to provide more variety, to provide a more varied choice for you. But yeah, basically the long game is try and fill out all your slots with Myth Track from the vault, fill in any other slots with crafted loot, and of course you're going to be wanting to take those big items and catalyzing those Myth Track items into your tier set as well. But overall, for DPS wise, you're going to want to constantly sim your character. In World of Warcraft, there is an option where you can simulate the damage that you would do in a certain scenario, and you'll use sites. If you just Google search all that up, you should definitely be simming your character if you're not already. Less important as a tank, but still important. If you're a good player as a tank, etc., you probably won't need to. You'll just know what's best. But in general, definitely as a DPS player, you just want to get into the habit of simming your character to help you make that informed decision based on data. Making those right choices to keep improving the power of your character, improve the damage that you do, and it'll just have a snowball effect on your gearing process and your fun and progression within Mythic Plus in general. So just to conclude, what's my goal for this season and when I do M+ dungeons in general in World of Warcraft? So I guess the main goal is, of course, fun. The only way I have the most fun is by trying to add people to friends list and making sure that I've got at least 1 or 2 pre-mades when I run. Otherwise, at the start of the season, new dungeons is going to be fun regardless, and everyone's just gearing up. But once you get into the thick of the season and you're up to halfway through, the only way that I'm still playing is if I've got a pre-made, or if I've got at least 2 pre-mades and a couple of mates to run with. That's where I then continue to have that fun and can learn and progress together. It's a lot more efficient as well to play the game in that way. But just taking efficiency out of it, you're just not stood around not playing the game, having to queue all of the time, and it's very painful, and dealing with people that can get quite toxic at the higher level, or just in any level really, with it being an MMO kind of community driven game. And if people are just typing there, they can just be keyboard warriors and just don't treat people like human beings. I fell into that trap in the past. I think I've passed that now for the most part, and I definitely prefer just to rock and play with pre-mades and friends. But in terms of like rankings, that does drive me. I am a competitive person, and in general, I'd like to go for the top 1% first. I've been pretty high in the past, but top 1% first, and then just go from there, hoping we get a full stack pre-made at some point. If we do, we will continue. The first couple of months of the season, which we played up until now, we played it fairly casually, and we're playing the long game. We usually meet up a couple of nights a week, and we'll try and stay with the curve if we can. But the main goal at the moment for us is trying to build a full stack of friends to play with, gearing people who are coming into the group as well, and spending that time gearing and helping them gear up, and just enjoying it, getting to know different people, or just trying to improve and that dynamic and bond of the group. So if we do manage to build up more of a 3 to 5 stack, then we'll continue to push and learn together. I'd much prefer to have spent all of my tens of hours, up to 100 plus hours easily of game time with other people in comms, getting on with friends, and just having a blast. Those times are a lot more memorable to me, rather than, let's say, getting to top 0.5, maybe on the off chance getting to the title 0.1%, and having to do that through a pug only world of 1 in 10 success rate or something crazy like that when it comes to completing the dungeon. And looking back on that journey, I don't, that I've been there before, and it's just not worth it, and it's nowhere near as enjoyable as wherever we get as a stack of mates. Like, that is multiple times better than just solo queuing and having that experience by yourself. So definitely getting that full stack, or at least over 3 people consistently, is our main goal when it comes to M+ dungeons. And then of course just enjoying the content, enjoying what Blizzard do in terms of their updates and patches, and then enjoying all of the new dungeon content that comes out in the following seasons. Class choices are less important at the first half of the season, because Blizzard do tend to have a pretty big mid-season patch where they have a look at classes. They might even do it before mid-season. They'll have a look at classes, they'll rebalance things based on what is completely overpowered, and then after that maybe you could start planning out how to push into those higher echelons of the tiers and higher echelons of key level for increased competitiveness. And usually as the season goes on, it is a lot easier to catch up with your alts, because it's just a much better way of playing the game, and that's my main focus, to try and build up that squad, because looking at the game at a team level is just simply tons more fun. Progressing, learning, and gearing as a team, helping each other out, get into that next key level as a squad. So it isn't just about comparing against all of the players in the world. Instead, it's just a huge amount of satisfaction from improving as a team and focusing on what you can achieve as a team against that next key level. You start to care less about looking at the different tier levels of the rest of the players in the world. It's more about, okay, where are we up to? Let's get to the next level. Let's gear up. What do we need to improve on? Okay, let's try and optimize this route. Sure, let's have a look at what other people are doing, maybe to optimize that route, definitely. But then let's see if we can apply it to our composition and how we play. But yeah, I've realized this video has gone on forever. I'm definitely going to be condensing this down. Yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Playing World of Warcraft as an M+ only player. Maybe Blizzard cater to this sort of playstyle more in the future. We'll see. It's just a lot easier to gather some mates together to do dungeons. That's 30 minutes long or so each dungeon. You can go and take a break more easily. Yeah, raiding, just getting 20 people together for that top tier mythic level raiding. It's just really difficult if you've got a lot going on in your life, and M+ definitely caters to my lifestyle a lot better, and that's why I tend to focus on it. It allows me to still play World of Warcraft, where I love the combat gameplay and I love the team group coordination required to get the content done. So yeah, thanks guys for listening. Let me know in the comment section what sort of player you are in World of Warcraft, what content you enjoy the most, maybe why you enjoy M+, or if you're a brand new player listening, has this got you into trying out World of Warcraft for Mythic Plus dungeon content? Let me know. Ask any questions, comment down your experiences, make sure to like this video, subscribe for future content, and I'll see you guys in the next one.